Well, this morning I'm going to take a hike right from my cabin. So, see how that goes. So this is out my driveway, and you go that way, you get to the paved road, and that takes you into town. You go this way, at the very end of this road is a trailhead, so that's where I'm going. So here's the trailhead of the Bearlake Trail. It started sprinkling on me when I first stepped in here, so thank goodness I got all these trees protecting me, so it shouldn't get too wet. I was looking at the weather, and I think over the next hour it had a 50% chance of raining. I got my rain gear just in case. This is a pretty cool trail. It connects up here to the Iditarod Trail. A quick story about the Iditarod Trail. Seward was the original starting point of the Iditarod Trail all the way to Nome. In the old days, they used to use dog sleds to move mail. When they started the Iditarod dog sled race, that goes out of Anchorage, but Seward is the original port. As the states warmed up over the last 100 years, they just decided to move it a little further north from a standpoint of the dog sled race. So in Alaska, we don't have a lot of cactuses, but we do have a plant called the Devil's Club. And this thing is really, will get you. It's got the little spikes coming off of it. You can see them there. It's a big old plant with big leaves. And they'll be all over the place around here. Like here's some right there. If you get off trail and you get into those things, you're in a world of hurt. Check them out. I'm getting a good focus here for some reason. I'm not sure why. This first section of the trail, you can take four-wheelers, I think snowmobiles in the winter. And if you go right up here in the Iditarod, it's kind of open for that type of vehicles. When we go straight, it'll go to a small trail once you cross that creek I mentioned. So that stops a lot of people, that creek does, from going over, and they keep putting a bridge on it, but the creek keeps moving. So that's how it is in these glacial fed creeks. Here's an old bridge. You can see how it's kind of leaning over in a little bit disarray, but this is where the creek used to run through, and it's not anymore. And a wind, some good winds this year, and blew over a number of trees. So I had to cut them and open up the trail. So this is where the trail goes to the right. It's the Iditarod Trail, and I've actually walked that quite a ways. There's some places where it drops pretty far down, and there's a lot of water and mud where the four-wheelers have kind of blown it up a little bit, so it's not an easy walk. But you can make it all the way to Nash Road, which is about 6 miles away. Or we're going to go this way, which is the way we're going to go. We're going to cross this creek and get on the smaller actual trail. I went down here about a week or two ago, and it was pretty dry, so I think with all this warm weather, the snow's melting and we got a lot of water. We'll see if I can make it across this creek. The last part of it was iffy, I just crossed, so we'll see how this is. It kind of splays out a little bit, so it might be okay, but we'll see. It's just deep enough and wide enough to be a pain. And there's the rest of the trail up that way. I gotta get past this creek to get up there. So let's see what I can come up with. Well, I made it across. I grabbed this log here and stepped across that and then used this other log to keep my balance. So anyway, I'm on the other side. Got some kayakers out in the lake. Cool, let's see if I can make it back. Well, I am packing my Glock today. This creek here has salmon come up it, and the bears will come down and eat it. And so I've seen bears around here many times. Hope it'll be okay, but I'm not too concerned. But anyway, that's why I'm packing my Glock. So now we're in the part of the trail that no motorized vehicles, etc. can go on. And this is a really cool hike as it goes along the lake the whole way. You can hear the kayakers back here. Looks like they're coming ashore for some reason. It's a pretty good kayak from where they came from, which was at the other end of the lake, so I'm sure they're a little tired. There's been a moose in the trail. You can see where his feet are hitting the dirt, marking it up. So as I walk around the lake here, there'll be lots of these little creeks we have to go up and cross and go up and cross. They all feed Bearlake. Getting a little elevation here. See the lake down below us. It's kind of cloudy today. This afternoon's supposed to clear up, so I figured I'd get a hike in while I can before it gets too warm. Well, because it's raining and a little cloudy today, you're not getting the view, but the lake's quite a ways down below us. We've made some elevation. It's a beautiful hike. And I ran into no other person, which is actually kind of nice too. I just spooked the bald eagle. I was hoping he wouldn't fly very far, but he took off. Anyway, he was only about 30, 40 feet away from me. Very cool. There's one of the eagles. He just went to that tree. There was 3 of them that jumped out. I think the other one's up here someplace in this tree. I can't find it. I saw him land in that tree someplace. There he is. Anyway, how cool is that? There must be a nest close by because there was 3 of them. Thinking this other one may go with them too. A lot of switchbacks as you go up these creek drainages. You go back and forth, up and back along the lake. There's always a little creek you have to cross. Coming up on a nice bridge. Wish they had this over that first creek. I guess if they did, there'd be a lot of people on this trail. There's another creek. Again, this creek feeds that lake. Pretty beautiful. So now we've walked all the way down to the lake shore. I really wonder if the lake's pretty high right now, but if it ever got too high, you'd never be able to pass this point. Pretty amazing. So off in the distance, way off there, you start seeing the homes, and that's where my place is located over there. You can't see mine because it's blocked, but for the most part, that's where all those homes are located. And we've walked from there to where we're at right now, basically along the water. And along the way, we come across obstacles. So they tried to cut the tree and it fell straight down, and they failed to cut it and tried to roll it off. So I guess that's as good as it gets. Well, I made it to the end of the lake. Nice and calm. As you can see, the weather's starting to break up a little bit. I still have to keep my rain gear on though, because all the plants along the trail are wet from that little rain, and so it'll just soak me. Anyway, this trail goes up to the connection to another trail. And that other trail goes all the way up north, and that's the Iditarod Trail continuing north. So I'm done right here. I'm going to turn around, but let me get up here so I can show you where this trail's at. I've walked up a little bit of it. I think I've walked about, 7,000 steps, so probably a good time for me to turn around. I've got my steps in for the day. So here's a trail. Pretty cool. So this is a big patch of double clubs. When I was younger and used to goat hunt, we'd climb all the way up the mountains with no trails, and we'd come back down and you'd run into a field of these and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? And you either had to try to get through them, or you had to go around them. Patch this size, I might go around. Well, the sun's coming out a little bit. One thing about Alaska, you just gotta look at the weather. It'll tend to change during the day. And just keep an eye on it, and then you know when you can go hiking and when you can't. And even if it's raining a little bit, as long as you have rain gear, it's a pretty good deal. The sun is out. There's an eagle just flew by. 2 eagles. Anyway, the sun is out. So it'll be great to work in the cabin this afternoon. I gotta power wash the rest of it a little bit. Power wash the deck. I'm going to start oiling it this summer. It's my big project of the summer. And well, that sounds relatively easy. The size of that cabin and the height of it is pretty big, and it'll be a lot of work. See all these bugs. When I was younger, bugs would just attack me. But years ago, I started eating kind of a carnivore diet, low in sugar, and bugs don't bother me much anymore. It's kind of interesting. I can walk right through them, it doesn't bother me a bit. You notice these trees, they grow out towards the lake. All the way up a mountain, those alders grow like that. So when you're climbing a mountain and you don't have a trail, you have to walk against those alders, and it makes it quite challenging. Even on the way back it makes challenging, but at least they're laying with your direction you're going. So we made some other hikes. One of them was the Primrose hike the other day. And that one basically, you see that big hill there before the mountain, There's a big valley back there, and that's where that lost lake is. And so that's where you go up to that lost lake. You can also exit from this side and go up on the other side of that big hill and keep walking. This closer little hill you see is where those Meridian and Long Lakes, etc., that's the valley they are in. And this trail I'm on here will sooner or later connect with those because that's part of the Iditarod Trail system they're updating. Well, we made it back. Sun's shining a little bit. It's probably about a 4.5 mile hike. A little windy. That's what usually happens when the weather changes. Nice about this walk is I can walk straight to my house. So, pretty handy. This afternoon, well, first of all, I'm going to make myself a late breakfast. And then this afternoon, I'm going to do some more power washing. I was power washed quite a bit yesterday, but I've got to finish washing these logs. These I might have to do them again. I don't know if you can see it. There's a few little dripping areas. That's because this is where the vent comes out. It kind of left a little gray stain at the top. I'm not too worried about it. I just want to make sure I clean it off as good as I can before I oil it. I already did this spot and this spot and the back side. So, gotta do the front and the other side and then the front deck. That'll be my work this afternoon. It's around 9:30 at night. I'm about ready to hit the rack. Beautiful evening. See the mountains a bit. Those are cottonwood trees, and they block a lot of the mountain view, but so be it. Over here's my where my electricity comes in. I'm not off-grid by any means. Even though if you go over here, you'll see my septic. Kind of behind, opposite corner is my well where I get my water. And then around the corner there, I get gas for my stove and oil for my heater. So I have 2 tanks back there. So that's how it's kind of run. Boy, it's a beautiful evening. It's nice and quiet.